you actually need to select them like the instructions tell us. Cool, so feel free to follow the instructions if you don't want to be confused and stumped. Just optional. Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. Fun fact, I have a surgically implanted artificial lens in my right eye. If you're new here, my name's Ash, I'm 27, I'm a cybersecurity enthusiast, and on this channel we do all things capture the flags, TryHackMe walkthroughs, hacking guides, and Python programming. On today's video, we are continuing our Advent of Cyber TryHackMe event with Day 12 Malware Analysis. For all links, timestamps, and playlists, please see the description below. Otherwise, let's get into it. So over on TryHackMe, Advent of Cyber Room, we have another great video from Husky Hacks. Definitely check that out. So we have a machine, so I'm just gonna start that up and get that booted. So if we remember from our phishing email room, we had a malicious document. It was confirmed that the document spawned another suspicious binary. Pivoting from that, they've dumped the memory from this task to be further analyzed via malware analysis. So our objectives are to learn the fundamentals of analyzing malware without relying on automated sandbox scanners, and to understand typical behavior of malware and the importance for incident investigation. So first section is key malware behaviors. So before we get into anything, we need to briefly go over common malware behaviors to have some base or good perspective we are to expect. So we've heard of malware before by going through TryHackMe or just even on the news. It's everywhere these days. And it's software or programs created to harm computers or entire networks. So people, threat actors or adversaries, develop these programs with goals, whether it's to infiltrate networks, to get sensitive data, or distribute operational services. So by analyzing programs, we can get a sense of common behaviors, which give us a good idea on what to look out for. So first area is network connections, having the malware trying to contact external servers or systems. And this can allow for remote access from other systems or the adversary themselves so that they can get in, or perhaps it's downloading staged payloads to then do further damage or infiltration in the network. And then internal connections may allow for pivoting, like we've learned in one of the previous days. Check out the video for that, or also known as lateral movement. Second area is registry key modifications. So malware typically uses registry keys to establish persistence. So this discreetly maintains long-term access to a system despite disruptions. So an example of this is registry run keys, which allow binaries to be automatically executed when a user logs in or the machine boots up. And the next one is file manipulations. So malware tends to download or create files needed for its successful execution. So this is sort of prepping us for our task. We're going to have to look at one, two, maybe all of these areas going into some malware. Next section, dangers of analyzing malware samples. So we have a big warning here saying handling a malware sample is dangerous. Always consider precautions while analyzing it. Honestly, I've wanted to do malware analysis, but I have always been fearful of something going wrong because it is dangerous, especially if it's totally legit real malware. Some precautions or tips to be aware of when handling live malware. Always assume that malware samples will infect your device. So executing it is not always the first and only step into analyzing it. Only run malware or execute it in a controlled environment that prevents potential compromise of unwanted assets. And lastly, always have a sandbox which allows you to have worry-free execution of malware samples. So the term sandbox is a controlled test environment that mimics a legitimate end user working environment. This gives us, the analysts, a safe environment to execute malware samples and learn the behavior. And then ideally it prevents the analyst, us, from running malware samples in their workstations, which is highly dangerous and impractical for the possibility of unwanted impact. So in a typical setup, sandboxes also provide automated analysis at the disposal of the security analyst. to determine if a binary from a set of malware samples requires further manual investigation. I mean, that makes sense. So in my head, I'm picturing like a virtual machine all ready to go, and maybe there's some Python scripts or maybe there's some programs ready to run that can already confirm some basic things. So for this task, you may start the attached Flare VM instance by clicking the Start Machine button. This VM will serve as your sandbox. However, do not expect this machine to provide an automated analysis, since we will assist Forensics McBlue in conducting manual analysis. So we're going to be using the show split view like we have in other rooms. We have our IP up and running and our user and password if we wanted to access it via RDP. So for ease of use, I'm going to select show split view, open that up, and now we've got our desktop on one side, TryHackMe on the other. So next section, static and dynamic analysis. So we've gone over some of the basics of how malware behavior is going to be perceived. So here are two methods of malware analysis: static and dynamic. Static is a way of analyzing a malware sample without executing the code. This method mainly focuses on profiling the binary with its readable information, such as its properties, program flow, and strings. Given the limitation of not executing it, sometimes this method gives insufficient information, which is why we resort to dynamic analysis, which is focusing on understanding the malware by executing it in a safe environment such as a sandbox. By doing so, you will see the malware live in action, its exact behavior, and how it infects the environment. Next section, profiling executables through static analysis. So as discussed, before popping the malware sample in desktop malware sample, so we've got that here, let's conduct a static analysis for the mystery gift binary. So that's what we had in the last room. So for this exercise, we will mainly use the following tools: Detect It Easy and CAPA. So Detect It Easy, we can right-click the sample and execute Detect It Easy. So this tool is going to provide information about the file, such as its architecture, significant headers, packer used, and strings. So let's go and use die. So we'll see the binary architecture. We also have the strings button here. So we have the AMD64 architecture, and then we have the executable UPX, which I think I've seen in a John Hammond video. So we can look more into this malware by viewing the strings. So we've got that here. So this is essentially the strings command, but it can show an overwhelming number of strings that are not significant for the investigation. Note, strings are pieces of text inside binary, often containing information such as IP addresses, URLs, or file names used by malicious programs. So next we've got kappa, which shows that the binary mostly hides its logic and analysis is affected due to a packer. So this is a command prompt. So we can go and open CMD. So we can change directories over to the desktop into the malware sample. So we've only got our one mystery gift file, and we can run kappa against said mystery gift file. So before we go any further, let's go down to the questions and see if we can tackle some of these as we go along. The first one, what is the architecture of the malware sample? So if we go back, we've got a 64-bit AMD 64, or we're just going to type what it's actually asked us for. Next, we've got what is the packer used in the malware sample. So we can see that here it is UPX. UPX is free, secure, portable, extendable, high-performance executable packer for several executable formats. Okay, so I guess you make a program and then you run it through UPX to get like an exe, make it actually executable. So next we've got what is the compiler used to build the malware sample. So I'm not sure if we've got up to that. Maybe kappa can give us some more information. So scrolling back up, we've seen the same results where the sample appears to be packed, and we can confirm that from Detect It Easy, which said it was indeed UPX. So we can unpack the binary using UPX and reanalyze the binaries using kappa. So we use UPX-D for D or unpack, and then we'll run it through that. So UPX-D against mystery gift, ultimate packer for executables. We can see that that's run. And now if we list out, we have a mystery gift.viv. So if we hit the up arrow and go kappa, and now we run it against viv. So that didn't work. So let me just follow the actual instructions. So the viv apparently is a cached file, so let's go ahead and delete our mystery gift.viv. Oh, so is the original mystery gift now unpacked? So if we just run kappa against mystery gift, is that unpacked now? Looks like it's actually analyzing it more. So that's worked, and it looks like it's also run some hashing algorithms to give us the hash values. So we've got some hashes there for this file. We've also got the MITRE ATT&CK framework and some other information which I don't understand. Let's continue and we'll sort of work our way back through this. So next section is deep dive into dynamic malware analysis. We couldn't actually double click or execute the binary because it didn't have a .exe, it was just blank. So before renaming and executing it, let's prepare the tool we need for analyzing its behavior. So that's short for Process Monitor, and it's a Windows tool that shows real-time registry file system and process thread activity. You can learn more about it here. You may access this via the taskbar. So let's go down and boot that up. Once open, we'll be prompted by the Process Monitor filter, a feature that allows us to filter the results logged by procmon. In this case, we only want to focus the events generated by this one file. So let's set the condition process name -is -mystery.gift. Mystery gift.exe. Just make sure we spell it right, and then click add, and okay, now we can go ahead and rename. So we'll give it a .exe, and it's recognized as an application. So we're ready to pop the malware. Navigate to the malware sample folder, double click the binary and observe its results in procmon. So it's going to be a little overwhelming apparently, there's going to be a lot going on, but we'll utilize the functionalities and see what we need. So hit enter. We've had a command prompt open. Nothing. So we've got a lot of events that are excluded. We're not seeing anything just yet. So referring to the screenshot, we'll have a panel here as highlighted in the image below. We've got registry activity, file system activity, network activity, process and threads, and profiling events. Cool. Okay. But we're not actually seeing anything just yet. Oh, I put architecture is instead of process name is. Makes sense? So let's try that again. You actually need to select that like the instructions tell us. Cool, so feel free to follow the instructions if you don't want to be confused and stumped. Just optional. Okay, so with these filters, we will focus on the first three: registry, file system, and network. As discussed above, malware tends to do the following: registry modifications, file modifications, and network connections. So we want to determine if there's any significant registry modifications executed by the binary, which is one of the expected behaviors introduced in this task. To do this, unclick all filters and only choose show registry activity. The results still give several results, so let's add a filter by finding all registry key creations. So we have a success. So we're looking query key. Right click that and exclude that. So we also need to remove open key, query value, and close. So then we only have the created keys plus the values that are set. The view from procmon should yield fewer results similar to the image below. So it looks like it's starting up. On startup, it runs wishes.bat, so some sort of bat file. So you may observe that only one registry key has both reg create key and reg set value. So this one, set value and create. This key is related to a persistent technique called registry run key modification. It's commonly used by malware developers to install a backdoor. Okay, so that's what that is. So let's just go back to our questions real quick, and we'll look at this, because I think that this was from Kappa. I know it was, I looked at the hint. So what is the compiler used to build the malware sample? If we look under compatibility, we've got compiled with NIM, so we can use NIM all lowercase. So while we're here, how many MITRE ATT&CK techniques have been discovered attributed to the discovery tactic? So if we look here, we've got discovery, we've got file and direct discovery, and system information. information discovery. So we've got 2 there. So the next question, what is the registry key abused by the malware? So for this, we can go back to our process monitor. Oh, cool. All right, that was it. That was just a guess. So it is the run program on open. So we can see here, as we just learned, that it's being used to have a backdoor. Yeah, that was a bit tricky because I thought there might be like a key column, but the path to the key, that is the registry key. So next, what is the value written on the registry key based on the previous question? So if we go and look at the properties, so if we look at the process maybe, let's go on with the tasks and maybe come back to this. So we're up to file modification. So let's also determine if malware sample executed file creations. It may indicate that the malware drops prerequisite files for its successful execution. So unclick all filters and choose the second filter, file system activity. So we'll go show file system activity. And again, the results are still numerous. So let's add extra filters by focusing only on file write events. Remove the following, create file, etc., etc., etc. So we've got exclude create file, exclude create file mapping, exclude query security file, exclude query name information file, and then basic information file, close file, and then read file. So we're only left with write file and then a few others. So we've got in the local temporary folder, we've got some test JPEGs. We also have that wishes.bat file. We saw that was put into the registry earlier, so that's good. So there are 2 files. So it's this wishes.bat and this test.jpg. So I can see what we're looking at for the next. So we still haven't got that value written in the registry. If we just quickly go back, and this time using the hint, we look at the detail column. So it looks like we've got the actual data here, which is going to look at the BAT file. All right, cool. Now we can go back to our show files and we can answer what are the names of the 2 files created by the malware under C users administrator. So we've got test.jpg and wishes.bat. Next question, we've got what are the 2 domains wherein malware has initiated a connection, a network connection. So there's 2 domains that we're looking for. So if we go back up to our instructions, we've got network connections. To confirm the malware sample attempts to make a network connection, it may indicate the malware communicates with external resources, download or establish remote access. So let's go ahead and use our third show network activity. It looks like we'll probably be doing the same thing. Unlike previous filters, maybe not, the results are few and can easily be interpreted. So it contacts bestfestivalcompany.thm and virustotal.com. Why would it contact VirusTotal? So we have this going over HTTP. And we also have VirusTotal HTTP, and I'm putting them in the wrong section. Oh, is this just domains? Yep. Okay, cool. Domains there. And then going back to the strings inside malware sample, what is the complete URL used to download the file hosted? Ooh, we go back, click on the original, go detect easy, and we'll use strings again, but this time I can see that there's a search that keeps not working. Oh, okay, filter. So let's look up best festival company. Didn't find anything, so maybe VirusTotal. Maybe if we look at HTTP, no, my search just keeps disappearing and my filter isn't giving me anything. So we're doing the right thing. We're using our filter. So just got to keep playing with it, I guess. So best festival company. Do we need to unpack it first? I do have the unpacked one here. Does that change anything? Yes, it does. It does change things. So we had it going to the favicon.ico. Awesome. Well, that does us for day 12 malware analysis. So thank you so much for watching up until this end of the video. This was quite the challenge. I hope you've enjoyed it. Feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe, and ding that bell. I do really appreciate any interactivity with my videos and channel, so thank you for that. Up on the screen, we've got YouTube recommending a video for you, plus the playlist to all the other videos in this series, which you can check out. Thanks again, and I will see you in the next video. See you later.